Happy New Year, everyone. Before I get into a math update, I just wanted to let you know about our Expo Day. As you may have already heard, on Friday, February 26th, we will be having our big Expo Day. We don't have a lot of time between now and then, and so we are asking that students come to school every day. We are just starting our final product creation, and it's extremely important that students are there to do the work. While we understand that things happen and you can't always control them, we would really appreciate the students coming to school on time and for the whole day from now until Expo Day, and preferably for the rest of the year. But anyway, on to math. This Monday we started our new geometry unit. I don't have very much to update you on, as the geometry probably looks very similar to the geometry that you're used to doing, but just wanted to kind of let you know what we're focusing on in the first grade classroom. We started our unit by looking at two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional shapes, and our big focus for the kids is to discuss their attributes. Attributes is a vocabulary word that we have exposed them to and do expect them to use. We say that attributes are characteristics or ways to describe shapes. When talking about two-dimensional shapes, we use the attributes corners and sides. So we may look at a triangle, ask the student what shape it is, a triangle, and then they have to explain how they know it's a triangle. So they would say, I know it is a triangle because it has three corners and three straight sides. When talking about three-dimensional shapes, we are using the attributes points and faces. For example, they'll look at a rectangular prism and they'll say, I know it's a rectangular prism because it has 8 points, 6 rectangular faces. We're getting them to define the faces, especially since a cube and a rectangular prism have the same number of points and faces. The difference being that a cube's faces are squares, whereas a rectangular prism's faces are mostly rectangles. After we do that, we're going to be getting into fractions. We won't call them fractions. We'll talk about dividing shapes into equal parts. In first grade, we study halves. We study fourths, and we also call those quarters. We'll be looking at rectangles and circles, looking at whether or not they're divided equally, and then once we've solidified the understanding of equal parts, we'll then start calling them halves, fourths, or quarters. After we do that, we're actually moving into telling time. The students are asked to tell time to the hour and to the half hour using an analog clock. So, if at any point you are around an analog clock, if you have one in your home, definitely start talking to the students about time. It is a difficult concept telling time to the half hour because, as you're aware, that hour hand sits between the two numbers on the clock, which causes a lot of confusion for students. So any type of exposure that they can have to time outside of the classroom would be extremely helpful. As mentioned in a previous video, the homework is always 1 week after we've studied it in class. So you have not seen any geometry homework come home yet. You will be seeing it on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we'll be sending home a new packet that will include two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional shapes, and then you'll start seeing the equal parts homework coming home, and then eventually at the end of the module, telling time. That's it. It's not a difficult concept for adults, somewhat for the students, but we've had a great time. Geometry is very hands-on and has been a great introduction this week. As always, if you have any questions, please let one of us know. Have a great night.